Hello, friends, landlords, tenants, and everybody interested in real estate in New Hampshire. Welcome back. We have a series on Landlord 101 for those interested in owning investment and income property here in New Hampshire. With us again, Brittany Ping from Ledgeview Commercial. Welcome back.
Thank you so much.
Our short video today is going to touch on a couple of topics that I get asked a lot about from our investors, and that is what kind of paperwork is involved. What things can I just take off my table and give to the property management companies? And I know myself as a property owner, as a landlord, I've actually hired you in the past because I hate the accounting. I hate keeping track of all the bills. Don't bother me with it. Don't bother with the lease. The lease is all technical and legal jargon. So if you would explain your process to our viewers, we'd love to hear that.
Yeah, so it's funny because you're like, oh, we'll talk about your property management contract. So like it's funny to like juxtapose them to side by side. Our lease is really intensive. It's 10 to 12 pages for tenants, right? Really, it was created by a lawyer. I always say it was like 3 pages before a lawyer got a hold of it, and now it's 12. And our property management agreement, I still think is under 3 pages. Not that a lawyer didn't get a hold of that one too, but really it's simple. Like, hey, this is you're not hiring us as your employees. We're your agents. Here's all the things we're able to do for you. Here's the rate at which you can pay it. You'll pay us for property management services. If you use us for maintenance, this is how much you could expect maintenance upcharges or an on-site, like our in-team maintenance to cost. It's really simple. And it says, hey, if we decide this isn't working for like legal reasons, like something really bad has happened, we can do a 10-day notice. Like this is like we're in breach of contract, right? Either way. 10 days breach contract. Or we can just do 30 days. Hey, this didn't work. Out. No harm, no foul. 30-day notice to break the contract. And then that, like the break fee is on there. It's really simple because ultimately what I can do for you is everything that's complex, right? We can pay all the bills and keep those costs, this cost segregation for you. So if you want us to handle all the utility bills, you want us to hold money in escrow because maybe your mortgagor doesn't, you want us to handle all of your inspections, your insurance inspections, make sure your insurance bill's paid. You want us to handle all of your tenant concerns, and you really never want to hear from us except for your monthly statement about what's come in and what's come out. Absolutely. No problem. If you're someone that's a little bit more hands-on, I have an owner that's very hands-on. He does all his own maintenance, but he just is like, I don't want to think about that property in any other regard. Okay, wonderful. Just tell me when you need me from a building like physical standpoint. We'll handle the rest. Or, even a little bit less. I just don't want to collect rent. It's really icky to me. I don't want to have to deal with a tenant and chasing them after rents. We also have those kinds of investors. All right, I'm happy to do it for you. I get to be the good guy. I get to be the bad guy. We can do that from, like a lease violation or rent payment standpoint. So, that's ultimately, it's a good mix. We have a hybrid model. That's kind of that in between. If you want us to handle leasing operations, maybe rent collection, and you want to do everything else, no problem, can do. Or we do full service property management, and there's really nothing we can't do for you. It all ultimately comes down to, you can have comfort in our lease terms. You can have comfort in our professionalism. We have 3, myself, and then I have a leasing operations. We have a leasing agent here. All of us are realtors. We're all licensed within the state, capable of really answering any question and providing that fiduciary for you and that reasonable care and skill that we owe to all of our customers, which would be your tenants. So that's kind of the short of it. What other questions are you hearing about?
That's beautiful. It sounds like you offer a buffet of different styles of property management, from a totally turnkey solution for, let's say, out-of-state owners who want to have just as much as possible passive investment, to those who want to be somewhat involved but have you handle the dirty work.
Yeah. And it could be a multitude of things. So we, in the city of Manchester, we have this certificate of occupancy. And so then you receive a certificate of compliance certificate. And that's every 3 years. So that's a piece that I work with. I have an administrative assistant who assists me in the forward-facing side, or the vendor coordination if we need to bring a third party in. And that's every 3 years. So we're keeping a track of we're almost done with 2023. I know it seems crazy. I've got a few more, and we'll start the audit for 2024. We're already starting to prep. We have a 2024, early 2024 COC. We already had a porch complaint. I said, let's just get a vendor out there. Let's get an estimate to rebuild it. It's not maybe necessary, but let's get ahead of the city inspector. The last thing we want to do is for the city to come on board and tell us a problem I didn't know about. So we're always thinking about that. And even though we don't have those kinds of things in the other cities that we manage, we're always holding our properties to that standard or above. I ultimately, if some inspector goes in there, there shouldn't be a surprise to me within the next 3 years in regards to the rental units. So, you know, that's one of our goals with turns. When somebody moves in, I don't want them to have a work order for 6 months. And I don't want the city to find a complaint in the next 3 years when they walk through. It might be tenant damage or, you know, a leak, and maybe they didn't tell us that it came down, you know, from the 3rd floor all the way to the 1st. But really, it shouldn't be, there shouldn't be a surprise. That's always the goal inside of the units. And I'll, you know, take on the chin some of the exterior stuff in the city or, you know, basement stuff from the city. But we like our units to pass that inspection every time.
That is great. All this can be very complicated, but you certainly make it sound easy. So, if the viewers are interested, please tell us how they can get a hold of you.
Yeah, so ledgeviewcommercial.com, or you can reach out to me directly. I'm the director of property management here. So that's B for Brittany, ping like a ping pong ball at ledgeviewcommercial.com. And then I know that we talked a little bit. I'm not as familiar with Rochester, but you said that they have something similar to our COC process here in Manchester.
Yes, in the town of Rochester, the city of Rochester, they do require an annual inspection of rental properties. So it's a little different than the certificate of compliance that you have here in Manchester. But it's more onerous. It actually applies to more buildings.
Yeah. And
these things can be passed on a local ordinance basis. They're not statewide rules. So even a big city like Nashua doesn't have such the invasive thing. But of course, if your tenants are on subsidized housing or Section 8, then that may bring in another level of inspection as well.
Yes. So the housing inspections, they coordinate with the tenants directly every year for a housing inspection. And then they would report violations to the landlord or landlord's agent. So that all comes to us directly here at Ledgeview Commercial for our housing tenants. One of the things that I like that you mentioned, so like Nashua, big city, we manage some properties in Nashua. Nashua is complaint-based. So that's one of the ones where having a really positive rapport and relationship with your tenants so that they come to you with any issues. We had an issue with a big leak at a new property we were managing in Nashua at the time. And they called the city to complain, well, like an ongoing leak, and the city turns up for complaint-based inspections. We've had complaint-based in Concord. It wasn't as aggressive, you know, but I remember in Nashua, when we had this complaint-based and they all shut up, and I said, listen, I have an excellent relationship in Concord with the city. I have an excellent relationship with Manchester in the city. Like, I want to have an excellent relationship with you in Nashua. Tell me what you want and I'll get it done. And it was a little bit harder, you know, but being able to say that, like, hey, I'm familiar with a complaint-based, I'm familiar with a proactive-based approach for maintenance and getting this what the city wants in regards to code compliance. And in Nashua, it's not to say that they're not paying attention, but it is complaint-based, and they will come at your property and they will dot every I and check every T for code. And, you know, luckily I was able to say, you know, I have these excellent relationships with city and municipalities. Tell me what you want. I'm going to do it. You know, give me your timeline, give me your violation list. We're going to be fine. And ultimately we were.
Well, that's great. I think this has been an excellent primer on property management in New Hampshire. And again, you talked about some of the importance of the paperwork, the contracts are involved between the property owner and yourself, the property management company and the tenants, and then dealing with all the accounting and monthly statements. You guys handle all that. Again, a turnkey solution. And finally, dealing with the bureaucrats and the inspectors. So thanks for that wrap up. Brittany Ping of Ledgeview Commercial. You guys do a great job. I'm signing off, Mark Warden, Porcupine Real Estate. You can find us on Facebook at Porcupine Real Estate, or of course, at porcupinerealestate.com. Thanks again, Brittany.
Thank you.